Let's rank every head coach in the college football playoff based on their 2025 head coaching job. How impressive was it to get this team into the playoffs? We'll start with Ole Miss, which is not applicable because Lane Kiffin was the guy during the regular season. He's not there anymore, so we're not going to rank him. At 11 is Mario Cristobal. He had a very talented team this year that got some big-time wins early in the season. But again, it's the same story. Mid to late season, they collapse, lose a couple of bad games, and they barely squeak into the playoffs. They could have just as easily missed. Next up is Dan Lanning. Still a solid coaching job this year. He took a team that was supposed to be in a bit of a transition year and still navigated them to the postseason. However, they lost their toughest game of the season to Indiana. They didn't make the Big Ten title game, and for that reason, he's low on this list. Next up is Kalen DeBoer, where yes, you have to factor in the awful loss to Florida State to start the season, but you also have to factor in everything else, which is a really impressive mid-season turnaround against a grueling schedule to still will this team to the postseason. Brent Venables deserves a ton of credit for getting this team to the postseason. They had one of the toughest schedules in all of college football. They battled through quarterback injuries and still managed to make it all the way here. Super impressive stuff. Bob Chesney guides James Madison to a college football playoff appearance this year, which in itself is very impressive, but it's also impressive that they basically didn't have to break a sweat past their second game of the season when they lost to Louisville. They just crushed their competition in the Sun Belt, which isn't always easy. Ohio State could have had a down year this season, and not a lot of people would have blamed Ryan Day with all of the changes from this offseason, but instead, he built a well-oiled machine that ran through the regular season. They do lose the Big Ten title game to Indiana, but I still think it's very impressive considering all of the circumstances they were faced with. This offseason, Joey McGuire assembled an excellent roster through the transfer portal, but that's only one piece of the puzzle. They still had to go out and win the games, and they did so emphatically, running through a conference that historically has a ton of parity, a really impressive run through the Big 12. John Summerall took a roster that was battered by the transfer portal and navigated through a really tough American Conference to win a conference title, and they landed 2 power conference wins in the non-conference, including one over the eventual ACC champions. Sometimes I don't think Mike Elko gets enough credit for taking Texas A&M over the hump this year. They reached a rarefied air that this program has not been used to recently. It is true that Kirby Smart has his hands on an elite roster with the Bulldogs, but when you factor in the ebb and flow of the season and how it panned out for the Bulldogs, it's unbelievable they ended up winning an SEC title. Their defense looked so awful at the start of the year and then just made vast improvements and now looks like one of the best in the entire country. But number one can't go to anybody but Curt Cignetti. He did one of the things that is almost impossible in this sport, and that's take a team that's just on the outside of the top tier contenders and break into that group. The wins over Oregon and Ohio State this year have left no doubt, and Indiana is now one of the favorites to win a national title. Unbelievable stuff this year by Curt Cignetti.